Hi guys, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Catching Up with the Nerds with your host Tom. And I'm by myself today, no JC, but I've got an amazing replacement for JC. I've got the one, the only AuxxZillary, aka Houston.
Yep.
What do you prefer, Houston or AuxxZillary?
Houston's fine. This is conversational, so that's fine.
We'll go with Houston then. But that's your stage name.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I am doing this little mini series thing where I'm interviewing, parents, dads, or people who have kids in their vicinity and trying to see how their passion for anything nerdy, being PC gaming, PC building, like Houston is very well known for, reading comics, anything that is nerdy, how they get that passion, how they get it passed on to their kids, and how they influence their kids, and how that's part of their daily life. Not only that, I just wanted also to get Houston on the podcast because I'm a big fan of his. So I'm quite happy that he decided to join. Right, so do I need to introduce myself? I don't feel like I should, but I will anyway. My name's Tom. I'm JC less today. No JC, like I just said. My name is Tom. I'm 50% of the podcast. I'm a little French guy that moved to London 20 years ago. I love everything that is nerdy. Hence, that's why I've started this podcast and decided to talk to other people about anything that is nerdy. I've got two kids, one who is 4, the other one who is turning 12 soon this summer. And I've been married for a long, long, long time. Happily married. And I'm quite glad that's worked out that way. So with me, the one and only Houston, aka AuxxZillary. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself quickly for anyone who's listening today? What do you do? Who are you? Where do you live? What do you do? I've said that already. Go for it.
I'm Houston. I'm AuxxZillary on everywhere on the internet. Yep. It's AuxxZillary. It's kind of 2 words. Man, I've been into PCs since I was a little kid, like 9-10 years old. My dad brought home a 486 DX100. I think technically a pre-built, but it wasn't like by one of the big companies. It was like a local shop had put the thing together, and he was adamant that I didn't just play games on the thing. He didn't want to have to always be bothered to, something's going wrong. Like, he pushed really hard for me to learn how to fix it myself. And he had a bit of a IT background, as I come to learn as I grew up. He was a programmer back in the days of punch cards, stacks in the 70s, of stacks of punch cards and stuff. So he's always been a bit of a nerd in that way too, and wicked smart, like probably one of the smartest people I know. And so I kind of got into that by proximity, I suppose, and always built my own machines all through school. Was the go-to tech support guy for family. And it honestly had been a dream to build computers, right? As a kid, you think, that's super cool. I do this anyway. So like, why not get paid for it? Well, it wasn't until I was late 20s. I don't recall exactly. I was hired with Puget Systems at 2015.
Okay.
And I turned 34 this year, so yeah, right at the end of my 20s.
Late 20s, yeah.
Finally living the dream. I'm getting paid to stand around and build PCs all day. How cool is that? And not just like, HPs and Dells. We're talking high-end content creation, engineering, scientific computing machines. Average sale price of like $5,000 US, right? Like, not cheap machines. These are one of the things that excited me the most of working for them, is that these machines are like changing the world. Everything, curing diseases to making feature films and stuff. It's super cool. And there's I've done all kinds of stuff. I've been a chef quote. I was a cook twice. Drove a tow truck for a year. I worked at the now defunct Fry's as a sales consultant for a little while. That's about as close as I got to real IT until recently. All kinds of stuff. My 20s were wild. I did all kinds of weird stuff. So I'm happy to be deep into it now. Yeah. Oh man, it's so exciting. I love it.
What did you study then, back in in your
Oh,
younger years?
I did take a few networking courses in high school. I found I had a knack for it. I was actually
Yeah.
pretty good with network engineering, but it's super boring. I didn't want to program routers and stuff. It was
Mm.
too rigid. Like there wasn't a lot of creativity in that. So
That's something that can be yeah, especially on in your day-to-day job, if you're going to be bored out of your skull, you've got to be able to add that creativity in there. From what I've seen from your live streams on Twitch, which we'll talk about in a bit, like you can tell there's your creative juices are flowing when you're in there and you're like, hey, let's grab this and do that. So you just go back quickly to your dad. So you
Mhm.
the impact that it's had on you then, of having your dad pushing you to not only play video game but fix them. If something's wrong, I'm not just gonna go to the shop and just buy you a replacement, right? Was
Right.
it that sort of experience? It was like, no, I'm not gonna buy you anything, just fix it, trying to fix it yourself, or I'll get you a part or something, and you put it. Is that how
Yeah.
it was?
Yeah. And it went from everything from, I mean, he bought me a thick DOS 6.0 book. Like, you're
Oh
going to
god,
learn
yes,
these
I had that. I
commands.
had one of those.
Yeah, right. The original DOS for dummies, right?
Yep.
6.0. Yeah. There's like a cutout thing you stick over the
Mm-hmm.
keyboard so you know the command. I didn't chew through the whole thing. But well
Yeah.
enough to where I didn't have to ask a lot of questions. But yeah, repair, if a part fails, it's up to you. The first upgrade we did was a 4x CD-ROM into the thing, like that, little things like that. Yeah. It was always, and that went for, at least for him, for a lot of different stuff. Like he ended up doing maintenance, like apartment maintenance and stuff, and so fixing things was sort of just what you did,
What's in
if you
his
could.
DNA, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And it forced a lot of creativity. Like, I'm very much, I will try to find answers. That, I think, was a big thing he taught me, was how to find an answer.
Yeah.
Without, you don't necessarily have to know everything. It's so much more important to know how to find answers, and good, accurate answers.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
It's
was.
it's quite interesting. The reason why I went back to that is because I grew up sort of similar to the similar experience to what you had, in terms of like having an interest in computers and building computers and getting stuff fixed and trying to understand the mechanics of it and trying to get trying to find out the answers for yourself, right? To use your brain and then use your hands to get that fixed.
Mhm.
But the difference with you, right, is that comes at times in your life when your parents are like, oh, what do you want to do with your life? And I'm like, damn, I really want to do something like some sort of manual work, as in like something that you use your hands to create and build stuff. But my parents went the other way. They went, well, it's safer. Again,
Mhm.
I'm born and raised in France. And in France, like, you got to play it safe all the time. Being creative and doing a manual job is not something that is really well seen, if you know what I mean. It's like this, it's got
Sure.
this stigma on it that goes with it. And it's like, um, and it's sort of, I think I would have probably ended up in some sort of same job that you're doing right now, which is like something that is like centered around computers and
Mhm.
building stuff. So that's why I'm quite interested to see the role that parents have in terms of getting their kids to take that step and being
Sure.
pushed.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm quite glad that you got somebody that pushed you in that direction. So it's good.
Yeah. And
Um,
to,
yep.
oh, go ahead.
Karen, no, Karen, Karen.
Oh, I was gonna say, it's been tough with the girls, right?
Mm.
I come into their life 5 or so years ago, and initially, it's tough because, like, who's this weird guy? But as we love each other and all that now. Like, we have a good relationship and whatnot, and I'm still very much. I try to instill that into them the way my dad kind of did. Was like, I'm not just going to give you answers. I'm going to first, like, well, what have you done to solve
Yeah.
this problem first, so that I'm not just repeating things you've already tried, but then also, like, kind of try to pull the answers out of them, or ask leading questions to make them think about it. Because, like, I've noticed, it seems like with the school, if the answer to the question isn't, like, right there
Obvious.
in the previous material, they're lost. And that's kind of shocking to me, because for me, critical thinking and like making those sort of assumptions and inferences in things comes super naturally. Of course, I have 25 years on them, so that's a little unfair. But I try to encourage that, and I notice it's very frustrating for them, because I feel like this is something new. They're not used to. It feels like they've been very used to almost being spoon-fed answers, and so now trying to have to think and put together an answer is new and frustrating.
It's interesting, because they go from that time where, you know, as younger kids, like let's say under 10 years old, they've got a, you know, they've got it easy almost not that it's easy to being a kid, but you know, or growing up, but they have it easy because we give them everything, all the answers they need. It's like, well, next you do this, and making that switch from going to, no, you got to think for yourself and you've got to ask yourself the right question is quite tricky, right? And I find it, and it's a funny thing, right? It's something that I got later on in life also. It's like, it's something you said just before this, which is very true. It's like, you don't expect them to have the correct answer, because that takes time and experience, that takes knowledge. That's something you build over time. But at least have the mechanism in your brain to actually get there or get to some sort of answer. It doesn't have to be correct. It's the same thing with gaining experience with building anything. Building PC is something also. It's like, you might put the wrong thing in there, that, you know, the wrong memory card, the wrong whatever thing, but that's how you learn. Like, you messed up, you try again. And something that it's very difficult to instill that sort of mechanism within kids. I'm not saying kids these days, because I don't want to sound like the old those damn kids. It's just like, we all go through that stage, right?
Absolutely. It you know, people like demonize social media and TikTok kids and stuff, and all it's really done is it's made it more obvious, right? In the 80s or whatever, there were kids dancing around in their living rooms to MTV, trying to choreograph with the music videos and stuff. And it's no different than them doing the TikTok dances. You know,
the access is different.
Yeah, it's all. And I feel like
the output also is different.
And again, it's like, it's more in your face.
Yeah,
you know, and so it's not bad. None of this has ever been bad, really. It's their tools, and they can be misused or for good or for bad and stuff.
Every generation of parents go through the same thing. Was like, well, back in my days, your parents were saying the same thing about you. It's just depend on how you adapt to it and how you decide to protect your kids around that new tool that's being offered. So it's quite interesting. So you mentioned the girls. Obviously, you've got a partner. So we said they were 10 and 15, but you know, we'll keep their names secrets. Do you? So apart from trying to share, you know, sort of how-tos and how to get, you know, how to do stuff, is there anything nerdy you do with them? Is there anything like, because you're a gamer also, you know, into PC building, you do a lot of live streaming, you do a bunch of, you know, YouTube stuff. Is there anything that you share with them? Is there anything you're trying to, you know, maybe your love of, well, not just PC building?
A little bit. Like the younger one, so I'll call her the intern, my intern, because and I say that because I used to have this getup where I had these big nerdy glasses in my lab coat while I was building PCs, which I still got 4 of them in the closet. And so she would help me on occasion, and so that's right. I'm the scientist guy. She's my intern, and so I feel like she likes helping. I don't know that she's so interested necessarily in the computer part. I think if I was fixing a car, she'd want to help, or I built shelves in the garage, she helped with that kind of thing. I think she just wants to help out. I'm the nerd in the family. Like, I'm, you know, I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. And so oftentimes they'll come to me with questions first, and I'm like, you have Google, right? Like,
use it.
I say this all the time, and I'm like a broken record. The greatest sum of human knowledge ever in the history of humanity is at your fingertips, and you're bothering me, which and that sounds really negative, but I like it. I like it though, because for one, I feel it is a little easier to just ask me first, because you have to dig through, but it's balancing that that thinking that go find an answer and judge for yourself. Like, is this a good answer? And even when I do give them, answer something, especially when it's something nuanced, like political or social or whatnot, I go, don't just take my word for it. These answers are filtered through my perceptions and my experiences and stuff. Go out there and get other people's perspective too. Like, I'm not always right. This is just the way I see things.
Only 90%. Only
90%. There's a few little nerdy stuff. Like me and the teenager will we go back and forth on like those sort of like political and social issues sorts of questions and stuff. And so that's a little nerdy. She's a straight A student, super smart as a whip.
Yeah.
Which was really proud, because I was not a very good student, despite being really smart. One of those, oh, you have such great potential kind of students.
But we can talk about that a little bit later if you want, about
sure.
The way we formatted it into school, but because I think that's quite an interesting subject. But sorry, carry on with
but there's little nerdy stuff like the Marvel stuff. I got my lady, my fiance, actually.
I
should say that. She loves all the Marvel movies, which really made me. I was so excited, because like that's like it's entry level nerdy stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to digest. It's fun and loud and loves Iron Man. Which I was so cool. She loved Iron Man from start to finish, all of them, the whole track. We actually ended up watching ahead of Endgame, the very last one. We ended up watching them all before Endgame came out, and then saw Endgame at IMAX. It was great.
Dude, this is literally what we've done. We sat there and I introduced my wife and my eldest daughter to the entire Marvel universe, and it was quite cool to go through it. Like I've watched them all beforehand, so it was like, okay, it's time to revisit the entire thing with them. And since then they've been like on the tail, like just freaking listening, watching to everything.
Great!
It's quite interesting, but yeah. So Karen, so you've got the same experience that I did, which is going to the cinema with them and enjoy Endgame, which is absolute madness at the time.
Oh, it's great.
Okay, so do you do any gaming with them? Are they into that at all? That's something, or is that something you're trying to also share or not?
Yeah, a little bit. I tried to introduce some more nerdy board games, like Munchkin. We play Munchkin.
Okay, I heard of that. Yeah.
Which it's like my slow, insidious plan to try and get them into Dungeons and Dragons. A little bit at a time.
That requires a lot of work to get into.
Interesting thing I've come to find out is it's really tough for my fiance and I've recently learned the teenager to pretend in that way. And it was really interesting.
Like a role playing, you mean?
Well, or just in general, even like not even playing with dolls and stuff when they were little, like pretending or imagining in those sorts of like fanciful ways. It just doesn't work, or I guess, and which
it's super hard, dude. I'm not gonna lie. So I've had a few games of like D&D and stuff like that. And it's like it takes practice to actually let it feels like when you're on a dance floor and you're like everyone's dancing and having a good time, and you're like trying to get back some moves and you're like, it's not really my thing. Yeah,
for sure.
You get your little gin and tonic in there or whatever, JD and Coke, and they're like, wow, everybody's so good and they can, and I'm right there just trying to figure it out. It was the same with D&D, for example, in board games in general. It's like it takes a while to break yourself into the game and get it really going, but once you get it, it's fun as hell.
Oh yeah. So in that way, a little bit, some board games in that sense, and I've started to pay more attention to what they're playing on their phones, because
Oh yes.
I don't think there's any way I'm going to get the kids into PC gaming, not ever. But I've noticed, like, when Among Us was blowing up,
yes,
they were hardcore into that on the phone. Teenagers been playing Minecraft, and there's some competitive thing that she's been doing. I think it's like some sort of battle royale. I haven't gotten too close into it, but like, that's super cool. And I'm like, man, I remember when I bought into Minecraft, when it was $20 20 years ago or something. I don't even remember. It was still written in Java back then.
Yep.
A beta. And so it's really neat to see that they're, for one, Minecraft is crazy popular still.
It's still relevant.
Yeah. And
still very much relevant.
There's a bit of relatability to it's really cool that they're playing some kind of games, and so I can relate.
What are they playing that on?
iPhone.
On iPhone, okay. Oh, it's true. You can play it on phone. It's true that it's I mean, my daughter's picked that up also, and she's playing it. Well, she's been playing it on PS4, and then now she's moved on to PS5 with it. But I still find it incredible that it came out years and years ago, and it's not dropped in value in terms of like trying to get the game. No. And it's still going strong. And I thought it would die at some point, but no, it's just. But you know what I like about it really? Is that it's a safe environment and it's very creative. So I don't really mind her playing it. So I don't know if it's the same for you. Like I think there's a couple, like the original Minecraft. There's a couple modes. I think there's the creative mode and the survival mode, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And I know I think they've released another version, which is like a crossover of Diablo and Minecraft's Minecraft Stories or something like that.
Dungeons.
Dungeons, that's the one.
That's it. Yeah. That one looked cool.
That looks cool. I even thought of picking that up for myself, but I was like, maybe that's too far. Like, I don't know if I don't want to. I'm already getting judged when I'm playing video games, and my daughter is there. She's looking at me like, "What are you doing? Why are you playing these shooting games? What are you doing?" So yeah, Minecraft, I think, is a great way to get your kids into gaming. I think it's very safe. You don't really need to check on them when they play, right? So that's always my fear. But before we hit record, we're talking about safety around kids, not only in video games but in real life. But there's always, to me, that fear when you have kids and they're playing video games, especially online these days. Like back in where we're growing up, it's all offline, right? You're on your Genesis, your Super Nintendo, your whatever. Right. That was fine. Nobody was bothering you unless your friend came over and just started chucking controllers all over the place. But that's the thing, though. So, do you have any? Do you do anything in terms of getting them to not? I'm not talking about online harassment and how do you control that, but like, do you sometimes look over their shoulders, like double check and go, what are you playing? What are you doing?
A little bit. I'm more concerned with the younger one, because just because she's younger and inexperienced. A little less with the teenager. She's had to deal with some issues and stuff with social media and quote friends kind of being rude to, I'm minimizing, but and how to deal with that and how to come through that and what to just how to handle it, I guess. Because man, I remember when I was, again, this is my dad pushing this stuff, first time on the internet was first off etiquette. Like, I was a little kid and he was like, you can't be some butthead little kid on the internet. Like, you're going to have to learn how to type fast. You're going to have to learn how to type like correctly with
grammar.
I text with better grammar than I speak. Like, and it comes through in all of my text sort of speech is way better than my speaking English. It's terrible. I'm bad English. I know 2 languages, right? Good English and bad English. and the good English comes out through text every time. I tend to curse sometimes. I have to. I'm holding back my F-bombs quite a bit. That's my favorite one. But yeah, because I learned, first off, to be super skeptical of anybody I interacted with on the internet. Not distrustful necessarily, that like, oh, they were out to get me, but you couldn't just take everything they say at face value. You believe them, but trust but verify, kind of like with a grain of salt. Like,
because it's good to do a little bit of research if you can, who's talking to you if you have time also.
Because even she's an intern just walked by the front door here, or the front window. But even with influencers and stuff, like what you see is a person, but it's a character to a certain level too. They're not, they're highlight reels. Social media is all highlight reels and the best pictures, the best vacation and all that stuff. And so it's not reality, and to judge it that way is detrimental to your own mental health and stuff. And I just always grew up skeptical of everything I saw on the internet. And nowadays it's like, it's tough to determine what's true, or the and even truth is kind of bendy and perspective based even. And it's always very weird when you, especially when dealing with stuff on anything online. It's just that that reality can be edited in certain ways, right? It can be what you only get to know what the other person will let you have, or will show you. Actually, that's when I go shout out, and this is why I actually really love Barnacles. We were talking about him before. Sure.
Jerry, he's one of the rare person I see online, and I'm sure there are things that he's not sharing. Obviously, he's not going to share everything. I don't expect anyone to do that, but he's probably the most honest guy out there, certainly on YouTube and all that. So like, there's nothing there's not a lot that he's keeping away from, hiding from people, but like he will let you know. And that's something actually, some people don't take that the wrong way, but I do appreciate the honesty that he's got. Let's move on. Let's go back to what should we go for this time? Let's go back to PC building. That's because that's where so people who know you and people, that's what you're famous for, famous.
I'm famous. Jeez, man.
Yeah. Well, in the PC building community, at least, but you're on the internet, like like people say. So how did you land? How did you get the job where you're at now, which is Puget System? How did you get a job there? Because even myself, who's lightly into PC building and in the world of PC, I'm not in no way, shape, or form a PC master race kind of guy, but I do enjoy people who talk about it, and people like YouTubers and people that give us an insight into what it is. And I love the crafts, the art around, and how creative you can be. For example, somebody else in the same circle, like Jace 2 Cents, who's somebody who's building PCs for himself and celebrities and whatever. But every time I look at these people and I look at you, I'm like, oh God, so jealous. Look at what they can do. Look at the knowledge. Look at this thing. So my first question is, how did you land a job there? Because you say you had a bunch of different jobs, but you were always dabbling into PC building and that stuff. Like, how did you make that transition? between in your 20s? Bang. How did you get there?
Well, we rewind the clock to 2012. I was working, actually, I was still here in Washington, working for a guy. We collected e-waste from different companies and stuff. And so this was a little bit of dabbling into PC building, kind of. We take the e-waste from companies like, actually, I probably shouldn't say, just in case. I don't know if they would get upset, but bigger companies you would recognize. And we would, so they're like usually on upgrade cycles every few years or months or whatever. And we would come in, take their old stuff. My job was to refurbish it, get it back to at least close to factory settings. And then we sold it on eBay. And it was at the guy's house and stuff. And great work, not something, and going into it, I knew this wasn't something that would last forever. So I got it in my head to I wanted to start making mobile games. So this is 2012, still pretty new in smartphones and things. And I knew mobile gaming was going to be big. You could just feel it. It's a perfect platform for, especially for certain kinds of games, and there've been tremendous amounts of creativity coming out of the platform. And so, I want to get in on this. So I signed up with Full Sail University. My mom and stepdad lived in California. They graciously said that, like, they would put me up, room and board, as long as I was doing school. They let me live with them, and so I moved down there. And I did get a part-time job at Starbucks while I was doing the schooling thing for a bit. And toward the end, I hit a really rough roadblock with Java for Android. It's rough. And so I ended up dropping out because having to retake this one class was just racking up. It was like $1,000 every time I had to retake the class. So I tried twice and that was enough. So I'm clearly not making it. So I had to get a full-time job now. Well, snap, and so I got a job at a phone tech support, so like a call center sort of thing, that we would try to fix whatever you had, anything from weird cell phone issues to viruses and Windows and stuff like that. And I learned, so it was not a very good job. They were a little sketchy and stuff. I didn't appreciate their business practices much, but I did learn some great communication stuff, and that'll be for another time. And I'm hating this job. I don't like this job at all. I love helping people. I love the tech support side, but we weren't supposed to be friends with the customers. Like, we're supposed to be very neutral and I want to build a relationship with somebody, even just for a moment, to help them. I want to help, right? So I don't want to work here anymore. And so I'm searching on Craigslist and I want to come home. I want to come home. All my friends and stuff are up in Washington. The rest of my family, other than my mom and stepdad. So I'm on Craigslist and I see an ad for a tech support position, actually, and I'm like, I'm doing that right now. But now it's focused on one particular product. I don't have to, spread myself thin. So I apply. I write up a paragraph why I think I'm great. Here's my resume, all this stuff, and I get an email back from John. He's the president of the company. Say, I'm really sorry. We already filled that position, but I think you'd be really great for an assembly position. What do you think? Man, it was like a ray of sunshine from the sky. Holy cow. You're telling me I don't actually have to deal with customers and all I have to do is build PCs for you all day and you're going to pay me? That's awesome. Yeah. So it was really tough. I didn't initially tell them that I was in California, which I think would have disqualified me because they didn't want me to disrupt my life if the job didn't work out. Like, oh, now I've moved 1,000 miles north and all this stuff. So I rigged it so that I was coming up for the Penny Arcade Expo anyway. I rigged it so that the interview would be just before I left back from the Penny Arcade Expo back to California. And I get the job. They offer me the job. I have a week. They're like, can you start in a week? Oh man. So I pack up just the essentials real fast and drive up and crash with my brother and stuff. And that's I started building PCs for them.
So you started building PC. Were you doing that for a while? Did you move from that position? So I'm only asking because on the website, so it says you're social media and community manager now.
Yeah.
Is that your next step, or did you go through a bunch of different jobs within the company? Like, how did that go? How did you end up there?
So started building with the PCs. It was December. Actually, I think just a little over a year of me working there. I did that first stream with Jerry. I built, they come looking for volunteers. Like, who wants to be on this live broadcast with this client of ours, this sponsorship that we have, who wants to be live. I'm like, oh, because I had started dabbling in Twitch before leaving California. And I'm, oh, that's stoked. Yeah, I want to get on live stuff. This is going to be great. Build that. It was tremendously successful. I thought, man, it was so great to do it for this guy. Why not do that for everybody? Well, at first internally, like we could just, it would slow me down a little bit, but like, why not just show our process? Like nobody does that.
That's great advertising for the company. That's great. Yeah.
That's what I thought. And it blew up. It was pretty, not crazy big. I think we averaged, I don't know, 120 viewers twice a week. I did it from noon to 6 or so. That was the first like kind of light bulb that we could be leveraging social media so much better. The company could be leveraging social media so much better. We stopped the live builds. Twitch, you know, it's a lot of enthusiasts, and we're trying at that time the company was pivoting away from gaming and enthusiast type market to professional workstations and stuff. Right. So stop that, because the audience, they're not really customers. Yeah. But I kept pushing on it. I'm like, hey, you know, we could be doing I was starting to get into other social media content, marketing content and stuff like Gary Vaynerchuk and things like that. I'm like, man, we could be doing more. Let's, like, who's handling this? And eventually they let me take it on part-time. So I moved to shipping to do both. And eventually the company created a proper marketing department. And that's when I moved to full-time social media / community management.
So, all right. So it's actually it all started on that live stream. That was actually,
it really
did. Jerry's coming in and wrecking stuff and being a GHD. So it's funny because actually I did watch it. So I was there when you guys were doing this. I thought it was quite hilarious, and I was like, oh God, there's something there. You know, it's not something I've seen before of people live streaming PC building on that scale. You know,
even still. You don't see it too often. The bigger companies will do it when it's like a sponsored build, like, oh, hey, we're building a machine for PewDiePie X. Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But they don't ever, and even those are, there's like high production value and stuff, right? I was doing it by myself. I had two cameras and a microphone. It's just me. Yeah. I'm building, talking, doing all the stuff, and it showed the real process. Yeah, those sponsored builds you see from other companies, that's not how they're building every machine. They're normal.
Well, yeah, they're trying to showcase their best case scenarios when it's like, look, this is quick, efficient. We've done it on the budget, and this is how it looks. But and this is why I appreciated what you guys did, which was like, oh, cool, like something real.
Yeah.
Like this is how it actually goes. You know, this is how it's actually built.
It was. This is how, whether the camera is on or off, this is how I build PCs 8-10 hours a day. It was no different except for the interaction with chat. That was, otherwise it's the same screwdrivers, the same bench, the same everything. Yeah.
I'm quite glad that you guys did it. It's something that I was so going back to the kids, it's something I always tell but the eldest one is like, what you see online, what you see on TV, when you look at the way professionals do things, it's always very much, you know, it's a glossier version of what real life is, you know, like what a job is, you know. It's never that, you know. You might go on TikTok and see somebody doing that dance, but how many hours of you know, learning have they done before that? You know, it's like, and that's why I really like those kind of stuff, and that's why I'm trying to get her to watch this sort of content, is that this is how it works. You know, there's no shortcut. There's a shortcut in the edit when you go and chop this together. But that's it.
It's like I get the same. The littler one, the 10-year-old, is like, oh, I don't want to post this on TikTok. It's terrible. I go, you got to remember, Charlie D'Amelio was trained dancer from like the age of 2 until 14 or 15 when she started putting TikToks out. Like, of course she's a tremendous dancer. She's been doing it her entire life.
It didn't happen by mistake, you know. It's just like one day she woke up, like, shit, I'm gonna dance today.
And she started with 0 too. She's she started with no likes on her videos. She started with no followers. Everybody starts that way. So like you just put it out there. It doesn't matter if you only get 5 likes and from us or whatever, whoever, you know, there are a few followers. Just go, do, create, and get better.
Yeah, and that's how you improve, and that's how you get somewhere. So talking about TikTokers and YouTubers, one of the questions I always ask is, you know, do you have anyone online, like a YouTuber, a Twitcher? Is it somebody you maybe enjoy, whose content you enjoy, or do you look up to? Maybe looking up is a bit more of a, it's like, ooh.
But so yeah, so personally, I'm a big fan, and I hesitate to say idolize, but I strive. I want to be in a similar place as his name is Ali Saeed. He does Optimum Tech, I think was his YouTube channel. He reviews. He's real big in reviewing small form factor PC cases, and and that's my jam. I'm a big fan. I want to be the number one small form factor PC guy. And so I look up to him quite a lot in that space.
So is that something you're thinking you'll end up doing, as in like pushing for maybe raising your game in the YouTube community, for example, or like maybe doing more live streams, or I don't know, is that something you're thinking of doing in the future?
Yeah, in fact, I want to I have aspirations to do it for business, like sell them, you know, to clients and stuff, one-offs or super fancy ones, or maybe a few pre-builts on my own, that kind of thing. But I noticed, this was years ago, the reviews that I see are great. They go over technical specs and things like that. But I bought a case based off of a review from Hardware Canucks, and I'm not critical of the review. It was a great review. They covered the things that they needed to cover. It was a great review. What they didn't cover was the build process. So they have the empty case, you go over the tech specs, blah, blah, blah. And this is for most reviewers. They go, you know, they show the case, and then it's like the cooking show, right? They come under the counter and they pull out the done. And there's no talk about like how tough it was to get this AIO in there, or hey, if something goes wrong, you're going to have to take this whole thing back out in order to get to the plate on the back. Because so the case that I ended up buying was a Cougar QBX. Great little case, super cheap, about the size of an N-Case M1. And they're like maybe $50, $60 US. And it bills itself as as AIO compatible within a certain range, of course.
Yeah.
I got an AIO in there, but it tended to crimp the hoses. And it was I think, I'm pretty sure it was the same one that Hardware Connects showed in their review. I don't recall for sure, so please don't hate me if I get that wrong. And so, man, had I known, one, how tough, it was very difficult to build in this case. It is not very friendly. There's for a number of minor issues, like I've learned, but they weren't covered in that review. That's what really started to push me hard on doing sort of full build reviews of cases. I've done it live a lot. I'll just build a whole PC. Hey, this is the case we're building in today. I'm going to take a bunch of parts from the old case that we had, put it into this new one, and we're going to learn how to do this together, because that's important. I feel like, you know, if you're going to dive, especially with small form factor PCs, it's tough. You got, you know, there's little spaces. You got to get your
space, right?
Yeah. And so, yeah.
So it's quite funny you say that. Was there ever a time at work on your, like, that you just given up in terms of like trying to build a PC and just went, nah, not happening? Like even you know, that being in your own private time for yourself, like if you're building something that you'll think you'll be using, or like even professionally, is that something that happened to you? Like you got stopped and just went, not happening?
So at work, there've been times where I've had to walk away but you always got to finish. You always got to finish it. So, because there's a customer waiting, you know? And so there's never a time where I had the opportunity to just F this and walk away. But even still personally, like I don't want to quit halfway through. I want to figure it out.
Yeah, you want to figure it out, right?
And so again, there've been times where I'm like, look, I'm not finishing this now. I got to end the stream, or I'm just getting frustrated, and I have to stop. But because I can't let it not be solved. Like it would bug the crap out of me until I figured it out. So yeah, no, there have been times where I've ended up having to alter a plan, get to a point and like, oh, I can't finish because this part isn't going to fit. Sure. And that's on me, you know? And so I got to move it to a bigger case or something, but the job always gets done eventually.
That said though, that takes me to my next one, which is like, have you ever had somebody comes in and they go, okay, I want that case, I want that, the graphics card in there, I want that and that. Have you ever had to say, or to show your end product and go, well, you've asked for this. This is where you get do you know what I mean? Like, were you ever in a situation where we actually went, right, so this is where your end product, I'm gonna go now before you open back? Is that something that ever happened where you're not ashamed, but when you went, right, maybe,
where I'm not proud of the end product. Sure. Yeah, for sure. Again, it's a weird sort of, there've been times at work where earlier on the processes have changed and the part selection and stuff is really tight now, so these sorts of strange happenings don't occur anymore. But there've definitely been times where it's like, hey, I'm gonna like, you got to kick it back up to the salesperson and say, hey, I can do this, but if they have to fix it or if they have to get in here later, it's not going to be pretty, and this is just a general comment. The Silverstone SG10, do not put 2 platter drives and a bunch of SSDs. Yes, you can fit 4 SSDs and 2 platter drives back there. Don't in fact, don't put platter drives in it. Don't do that.
Just don't put anything.
I'm gonna say, just don't do that, and you'll have a much happier life with the SG10. No, that one, that's probably the weirdest one, because it's so tight. It's so tight. It takes an ATX power supply, and then imagine and it's MATX, so you can fit 2 video cards. Imagine 2 video cards that take a 6 and an 8 pin. Then you got 2 platter drives and 2 SSDs. All that cabling.
And it's got to somehow magically get in there.
Yeah, the box got to close. Yeah,
and be quiet.
and so there's a few times, but I learned, that's something else I learned was working as an assembly with Puget. I would get frustrated with like, oh, why are they doing this? This is difficult for me.
Yeah, and
it took quite a while to kind of flip the mindset of where it's not about me. It's not my computer.
That's exactly.
I'm doing this as a service. It isn't just blind, like, oh, I'm going to do what you say just because sometimes mistakes happen or weird configurations you don't realize what's going to end up at the end or how difficult something will be for the customer. So it's good to kind of question some of that stuff. But there were times where and I feel like this was just because I was younger, I guess, or just salty kid guy. Where I made a big stink over stuff that I can do it. It's going to suck for me, but it's going to make the customer happy. And
it's all about learning that's the thing though. When your job's your passion, also it's hard to separate yourself from what is your job, right? What your opinion is about, or your experience is about, and then what the customer requires. I think that's where it's only with experience that you can actually make that separation, actually not take things too personal. Where it's like, well, I wouldn't do that. It looks ugly as hell, or it will just not run as it should, or if you're not going to get the most optimized experience with it. But hey, It's your money.
So, yeah, sometimes you got to do it because I was paid to do it. So it's okay.
This that. It's all right though. You're still in there, just doing your dream job. It's like it's a small thing you have to do with. All right, let's go with the last thing. We got to talk about your beard. I know I was gonna go there. Dude, sure. Walk me through. Teach me, how did you get such a majestic piece of beardage on you?
So it started. This is back in California when I was working at Starbucks. One of the guys that I worked with, it was like a no shave November kind of thing.
Yeah.
Except he wanted to go to the end of the year. He's like, let's not shave until January.
Commitment. Go on.
Yeah. And he actually approached me, I want to say like early October. So we started early even. And he quit. He shaved it down for Thanksgiving family pictures. And I'm like, that's a lame excuse. Like, we were rocking. It was good.
Yeah.
I went full steam ahead through January. So this is actually the second iteration of the full beard.
All right.
Because that January, this probably 2013 now. I don't know. It's really hard for me to keep track of time. But it was January, and I had it shaved down by the cool local barber guy into just quite a mustache with the chin puff, like a Spaniard, kind of a Three Musketeer looking, which was fun because he had cut my mustache very short. And so I was determined to grow it out into the big handlebar.
Oh, nice, yeah.
At one point, the ends of my mustache I could actually tuck over my ears, like back. it's trimmed now. And so from there, I grew it back again, and we did it again that next year, and I didn't quit after that. Like it's been for
commitment,
like 7 years.
Do you have the itch of, do you have sometimes the madness? That's it was going to be the word I was going to use. Like sometimes, when you grab for, we go for the scissors or whatever, your razors.
Oh, just go, heavens no. In fact, my lady really likes it. She loves it. She would be so upset if I shaved or had to shave for some reason, like clean. Oh man.
Do you remember your face without it? Do you actually remember it?
I have pictures, but I like to joke that it's been so long I haven't seen my chin. I could declare it legally dead, right? I'm not even sure it's back there anymore. I like it. I think it's pretty unique and a good one. Like I'm happy that it fills in as well as it did and all that.
It's got a good shape. And it's got the two tones on it. That grayness and. It's part of the reason why I've tried to grow a beard, but like for some reason it doesn't grow on the sides here. It just looks weird. But the one thing I really love though is getting the grayness coming through here. It's like I'm like, this is what I've been looking forward to.
It's great.
Since I got a beard, I'm like, I thought it would be horrible. I thought it would be like, I'm getting old, but no. Actually, it's badass. Look at this.
I think you could pull off a good Tony Stark beard. You got the shape of it working out pretty well. The goatee and then along the chin line. I think you can rock it.
I'll try one day. I'll see how it goes. But I don't know if it might look ridiculous for a while. You can always shave it off,
That's
right?
Fun. Yeah.
But it's just, then again, I always look at myself when I'm clean shaven. I'm like, no, that's not a good look. I've got to wait like 3 or 4 days before it all grows and it looks okay. So I don't know if I want that sacrifice. That's the one good thing with the pandemic and being stuck at home is that you can clean shave, and nobody will ever see it. And that's the only time I could do it. Like rocking into the office with like a clean face, and if I feel naked.
Oh, I imagine too. Now it's been so long that the underneath would be very pale. Like my face has been 7 years exposed. Yeah, I couldn't. I don't think it would not be a good look. Mm-mm.
I'm sure you must be intrigued. You must be thinking about it like something's like I'll go and do it. I just see what it looks like under there.
What really stops me is it is a tremendous amount of work to shave this down. Because like I think about the first time that I had a professional do it, because it was a full beard, like what you see today, and it took an hour and a half for him to carve away. It started with scissors, cut it down as close as he could, and then over and over and over with the electric clippers, and
too much work.
Oh man, and then to get it back is another 8 or 10 months.
It takes so long. It's commitment. You get to that point where it's really itchy, and you're like, you gotta. And I've people told me that you gotta push through that.
What I did was I shaved it up to the jawline, and then over time slowly worked it down, and I would shave less and less high up to the chin, that jawline, and that worked out. Because the first 3 weeks under the jaw, it feels itchy, but it's actually just those little pricklies like poking you all over the place.
Yeah, it's like it's uncomfortable. Oh man, I'm glad we talked about the beard. It's called our beard talk. That's another one you should start. Right, let's wrap this up. I think we've done good here today, sir.
Awesome.
So once again, thank you very much for having me. I was going to say, but yes, for having me. You know what? So where can people catch you these days? On Twitch? Do you want to plug your stuff?
Occasionally on Twitch TV, /AuxxZillary, AuxxZillary, and that spelling is Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Yeah, that's where I'm at everywhere. Yep.
And then you're on YouTube also with the one and only Barnacles and Tech Talk.
Mm-hmm. Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Yep. Which is a great show. If you've not watched it, please do. It's very entertaining. Anything goes, really. I think that's what it should be called, because it's always about a little bit about tech and a lot about talk. Let's put it that way. Right. Anyway, so that was Houston with us. Thank you again for giving up an hour of your time on this lovely Sunday morning for you guys and Sunday evening for us in the UK. We'll look forward. Maybe hopefully at some point we'll do this again and talk about something else, other than your beard, or maybe we just talk only about your beard. Anyway, that was Catching Up with the Nerds. We'll be back at some point somewhere, maybe next week, for another episode. You guys have a good one. Please do subscribe, share, the usual stuff everywhere. We're everywhere also, except for Facebook, because we don't really go there. But if you want to follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube, we'll be more than happy. And Apple Podcasts. We love Apple Podcasts.
Oh, yeah, right on.
They're everywhere. Give us 5 stars there. That's what we want. All right. So from me, Tom, and from our guest, Houston, thank you. And we'll hope you have a good one. Goodbye.
Yeah, bye. Thanks for having me.